Hello, welcome. You are in bed with Ella and Iggy. I don't know where this is going to go, but if you want to find out, you better stay till the end. No, I'm just joking. We're actually here to talk about human design and how human design has changed our relationship, as well as a really cool story about how this all initiated. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some tools and techniques that we've been implementing into our lives over the last year through understanding more deeply our human design, which has allowed us to understand each other and our unique blueprint and interactive dynamics together. So yeah, thank you for joining this video today. So firstly, I was wanting to talk a little bit about the story because I really love how this came about. People saying hello. Yeah. So Iggy has a marketing agency, and it's really his purpose is to see the potential of others and how he can get their message out to the world. And this really made a lot more sense when we realized that he is a projector. So his human design type is a projector, which is really an orchestrator of seeing the potential in the world. So it's so important that he's recognized. And sometimes he gets these really, really amazing ideas. And if I'm able to recognize those amazing ideas because they have been invited, then it can lead to really magical, magical things. And so this leads us into the story of how I wouldn't say into human design, but more into human design, and really realizing that it was something that I wanted to follow and teach and share with the world. So it was last year, and we were living in Nusa Lembongan, and Iggy was in the shower, and then he just hopped out of the shower, and he's like, "Babe, I have an idea. Like, do you want to hear it?" And straight away, I'm a generator, so my sacral was like, "Oh yeah, please share." And yeah, so.
So yeah, I just knew how much Ella was passionate about human design as a hobby. And every time we would talk about it, she would go and do researches and she was just in love with it. And I knew she had all the knowledge about how to set up a business and understanding the back end on having a online school. She has a online yoga school. So it's like you have everything you need. You have an audience, you have people who really know your wisdom and know the work you do. Why don't you just dive deep into this? That's your passion, and I can support you with anything that you need regarding marketing and setting up and the business aspect of it. And since then, it's been pure magic.
Yeah, so he just had this idea, it started off just me talking about it all the time. And then he was like, "Babe, I feel like you're meant to go deeper into this and understand this more so you can share it." And like I was just like, ooh, it just lit this fire up inside me. And I was like, oh my God, yes. And so because I'm also so passionate about relationships, I was like, that's the only area that I want to understand it, or the reason why I want to understand, because it's all about how can we connect more harmoniously? How can we understand ourselves better, more deeply and truly? And then how can we also understand our partners? So when we realized, well, we already knew that I was a generator, he was a projector, and this makes a really good combination for a partnership, whether that be romantic, business, friendship, all of those. They're really like a beautiful duo. So we started looking into the strategy of the generator. And I knew that every time Iggy asked me a question that was more open-ended, I would get all like, I don't know the answer. And then I'm like, babe, please ask me yes and no questions. It's something that's so simple, yet it just changed so quickly how I was able to respond. So, let's just say when it comes to like, where do we want to go for dinner? If he's like, hey, where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know. But if he says, hey, babe, do you want pizza? I like can tune in and be like, there's that instant sound response. And that's my answer, because we're not designed to respond or make answers from our head. It's great for processing, analyzing, but we really need to drop back into the body to have that response, that inner wisdom of like, what is the correct decision? And then for Iggy, it's really about that being recognized. So it was so beautiful when we started to look at ways on his business where he was putting in all this energy and trying to like be like, oh my God, I see the potential of this. I see the potential of this. And oh my gosh, they just need to do this, this, and this. But if he was giving that advice in a really unsolicited way, the response might not be what he desired. He's like, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to serve. And so when he waited to be invited or actually propose the invitation, I'm not saying that projectors need to wait for every invitation. They can put themselves out there and they can network and then like be ready to receive the invitation. And then they naturally come because people want to hear your advice without you depleting yourself and, chasing all these people that might not be interested to hear, or they might not be ready to hear. They might not be at that place yet. So how did that change your business?
Yeah, so before, the feeling I had is that I knew the solution for everyone's problem when it would come to marketing and the roadmap or how to get there. But I just felt people were not ready, and that would be really frustrating. And then I would have shared, but they were not ready to receive it. And once I started implementing this knowledge, and the two ways was I just got really deep on what I already studied, and people would recognize that in me on how I'm a lot wiser and I have a lot other different skills. Or I would offer them, I'm like, hey, I have a solution for your problem. Would you like to hear? And if they say yes, then it was a game changer. People were a lot more receptive to receive what I had to give. And I felt a lot more recognized for what I had to share.
Yeah. And just myself, like I always knew that he really loves to be recognized, but it wasn't something that was as important for me because I just kind of like follow this like response of like what lights me up and what brings me joy. But then I was able to be like, okay, I'm going to be really consciously aware of how I can recognize him. And it could just be in really little things and just like giving that praise from a place of like, wow, I see you doing this and I'm so proud of you. And yeah, and it really helped to bring a lot more connection and depth into our relationship. So yeah, that the recognition, and that really helped. And then I'll just talk about one other thing because I want to, maybe this is going to be a series of In Bed with Iggy and Ella if he allows. Maybe not. So the other thing that was really interesting was to look at our open centers versus defined centers. So the ones that Iggy has that are defined or colored in. Like there is a few centers of these where I have it defined, he has it undefined, or he has it defined and I have it undefined, which means that the center that's defined is going to be more dominant, it's more consistent for that person. So say Iggy is an emotional projector, so his emotional solar plexus is defined. Mine is undefined, which means Iggy is more consistent and more sure of his emotions. And me, I'm more changeable and I can take in these emotions and then I can amplify, like literally multiply and then put it back out. So if I feel in my body like, oh my gosh, he's a little bit angry or sad or any kind of emotion, I can take that in and I'm unsure of if it's mine or not. So in a situation where this is not handled in a healthy way, it can lead to, very explosive situations. And we've had a couple of those because of a conflicting need for resolution. So Iggy needs more space, more time, and I want it like instantly. And I realized that nothing is going to get resolved in that space of an emotional wave. So for me to know that, and to know that I might be taking in emotion and energy that's not all mine, I need to like take myself away and give space. And also that's what Iggy naturally wants to do as well. So it works out perfectly. So by separating those energies and being like, okay, what is mine, sitting with myself, connecting to my breath, and then waiting for that to ride out. It's so much more, it's a much more constructive way to manage anything, whether it be conflict or making a decision. So Iggy's strategy with the emotional solar plexus is always to sleep on it. So he needs a little bit extra time to get that clarity. So never making a decision in an emotional wave. And that can also mean not making a decision from that ecstatic joy place, because, give it 12 hours, it could drop down. And then they might be like, oh, that wasn't really the right thing to do. So yeah, understanding which centers of yourself and your partners are open versus defined can also help you to understand where there is conditioning and where you can be conditioned by the outside world, because we are all more prone to conditioning when our centers are open, because this is what we're here to experience and to learn about in this world through human connection. So yeah, that was another interesting one. We have a few other centers. I don't know if you want to talk about. So my will center is defined, and yours is undefined.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you're in, like, you've got this really strong morning routine, but I'm also able to give you that encouragement, because for me, like, getting up and doing things, and like, if I say I'm going to do something, I really do it, because my will center is defined. And you're really doing this at the moment.
For me, as a practice, as an exercise. It doesn't come natural.
But I find that it helps that I'm not like, oh yeah, it's okay, stay in bed, sleep a bit longer. I'm like, babe, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you help me too. Like,
I'm giving you're really growing that willpower as a practice, but I'm also helping to like give you that willpower that I know so deeply within myself. Yeah.
Very true.
Well, that's all we're going to share today, and let's dive into some more things at a later date. So there's so much more when you're looking at a composite relationship chart. There's connection channels, dominance channels, electromagnetic channels, friendship channels, and they all bring a different flavor to your relationship. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
See you in bed again soon.